leaders of the donkey party on the run, now running away from the costly health care law. Meanwhile, no one can run away from this. Our national debt topping $18 trillion, that's with a T, dollars. Will this number keep running up unless we start cutting all big government programs down? Hi, everyone. I'm Brenda Butner. This is Bulls and Bears. And here we go. The Bulls and Bears this week. Gary B. Smith, Tracy Burns, Jonas Max Ferris, John Layfield, along with Jessica Ehrlich. Welcome to everybody. Okay, John, they're running up our visa bill here, and no one's doing anything about it. No even minimum payments.
Yeah, they're doing exactly what they said they wouldn't do. Candidate Obama in 2008 said that President Bush was unpatriotic, that there was a lack of leadership because at the time he had increased the national debt by about $4 trillion plus. Now, in only his sixth year, President Obama has increased it over $7 trillion. President Obama basically doubled the national debt. President Obama is going to do basically the same thing. We're going to be at $20 trillion. If you stick a normalized 5% interest rate on this, which is a historic average, we have in mandatory spending and interest alone, that covers the entire tax revenue we get in of $3.3 trillion projected for 2015. That means we don't have one dime left without borrowing for education, for defense, for the State Department, absolutely anything. You got to deal with the entitlements, and you got to deal with this massive bloated healthcare issue to get cost under control.
Jessica, you agree?
Well, I think we need to make a difference here, differentiate between the debt and the deficit, because the debt is the overall number which has increased, which is an issue, but it's gone to things that needed to happen, like the Iraq wars. That's where all of that money went to, and it got put under George Bush into the debt. Right. Then we had to deal with the economy and the recession and treasuries and trying to keep the economy stable in the country. And at the same time, during President Obama's administration, why there hasn't been as much of a kerfuffle is because actually our spending has dropped. So government spending has gone down now from over about $1.5 trillion down to almost $500 billion.
Okay, but
there is cutting going on in government spending. It's dealing with this larger issue, which is a sort of more macroeconomic issue of the solvency of the government.
Gary B., let's get back to this $18 trillion. This affects every one of us. Every man, woman, and child owes $56,000. I can't afford that.
Exactly, Brenda, and the bill is going to go up. I do want to address one point Jessica made. You know, always George Bush is thrown under the bus with the wars. I would counter with that great stimulus that we had. Certainly didn't help the debt or the deficit, and that was all President Obama. But the bigger point that Jessica did get right is the debt, and you mentioned it also, now at $18 trillion. Brenda, by the year 2030, all of our tax revenue will go to pay, as John alluded to, entitlements and the interest that we have on the debt. I mean, that's it. We're not going to have money for anything else. Social Security went into the red in 2010. So those deficits are locked in. That's set right there. Those deficits are quadruple in the next 20 years. Brenda, we're going to be out of money. It's not President Obama. It's not President Bush. It's not any president. They're basically in charge of discretionary spending. Unless Congress and the president start to make a dent on things like Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security and get off this cockamamie, yes, but we need to spend it there where we are going to be all broke. And that $56,000 you mentioned, think about that doubling.
Well, there's actually $5 trillion that was taken out of the Social Security and Medicare funds and put into the debt. The government actually owes Social Security and Medicare money.
They borrow. They borrow against
from
it.
So
And
they're borrowing. They're like
but
taking
the payroll
computer to
tax
pay
holiday didn't help either. Look, to Gary's point, 45% of the federal budget goes to entitlements that no one in Congress has the spine to tackle. Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. And they both mentioned the interest payments, Brenda, which will be $800 billion in 2024. $800 billion. I can't wrap my head around that. That's just interest alone. God forbid we need money for war or anything else. We are not going to have it. This is important. Congress has to wake up. Gary's right. This is Congress. This is on Congress's shoulder, and this is the Republicans now to win. If they can try to do something about this, now that they have majority come January, they should do something about this because it is going to affect our children and our grandchildren.
You know, Jonas, I don't know a politician who is willing to touch Social Security and Medicare. So is there any hope that the debt is going to come down, especially if we keep pushing these big government programs?
No, because the only thing they want to touch, including some of the Democrats now, is Obamacare. But, you know, when it boils right down to it, there's a lot of reasons not to like Obamacare, but the debt is not one of them. If you could knock out Social Security or Medicare or defense/wars, you could make this number not go up every year. But if you wiped out Obamacare next year, that number's still going up next year because Obamacare has a revenue model. We don't like it, but it is there. There's tax revenues coming in. It's not like the Medicare drug plan. It is not making this number go up significantly like Medicare, Medicaid, all the ones we just talked about, interest. Those are the problems that would have to be addressed.
Well, John, what about food stamps and welfare? Those have really gone up.
Yeah, they've gone up because poverty has gone up. Poverty under this president has gone up to about 47, 48 million people, and food stamps are exactly the same. So you want to cut down food stamps, cut down poverty. The inequality under this president, same as under President Bush. You can blame President Bush. 6 years later, come on, the sun's in your eyes and your shoes are untied. What other ridiculous excuses can you guys make up for the continuing to do the same things that have led our country to have this massive deficit? Look, TV Marti is free Cuba. It's been $27 million. Cuba just blocks the signal. You know why it's not stopped? Because it creates jobs, worthless jobs. You try to take away one government enterprise, that's just $27 million. Try to take away one of these big entitlements and see the fight you have on your hands. Once a government program goes in place, it never stops. That is our problem.
Well, that's true. Government never gets smaller, does it, Gary B?
No, it doesn't. And no matter who's in office, you know, and it's funny, you see all these flip-flops, all the programs that the Democrats, for example, were against, they're now for. Same with the Republicans, by the way. If it comes to spending, they all default to the left's line of, yeah, but we can't cut that. We can't cut Social Security. It's good. It's the bedrock of our civilization. Medicare, how can you do that to the old people, for crying out loud? You know, we're like, this country is like an alcoholic, that you know that one more drink is going to be bad for you and kill you, but you can't help bellying up to the bar.
Yeah, well,
that's the problem we have.
Well, Tracy, the Democrats passed Obamacare, and now they are not running. They are sprinting away from it. What does that mean?
It means they're not going to get reelected because it's all about the voting system in this country. Here we are again, and here I am again on my soapbox preaching for term limits, because if there were, people would be brave enough to step up and say, we have to fix stuff, and it's okay if you don't vote me back because I got to go back home. It is okay. We need those kinds of people because Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, we can do this. It's possible. This is not an ad infinitum programs, or these are not. They can't be. We can't afford it. And Obamacare, of course they're backing away from it because although, to Jonas's point, it's not going to affect the debt, it is going to affect your tax bill, employment, you name it, down the line.
Jessica, why are they backing away? Why are they running away?
The issue with healthcare is totally separate, I think, from the spending issue. I mean, that's one of sort of a political overarching agenda. But the idea that there is, you know, going to be this whole sense of the $18 trillion relates actually to it in the sense that, yeah, the main issue was dealing with the economy at large. And the reason that that is $18 trillion is also because it's treasuries. It's the money that we borrow as a nation. It's money we're taking from foreign countries. Government spending overall has gone down. That is not fixed this problem.
But Jessica,
and so that's the issue.
You don't tell a family at home, though.
It's going to double under
You
President
cannot
Obama.
run
hold
the
on.
United States. There is no family in the United States of America that has access to liquidity of trillions of dollars.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
if you're talking from a
Jessica,
business standpoint, you
I
cannot
gotta
run
let
the
somebody
United
get
States.
in here.
The
Okay,
answer is
Jonas.
A family.
Schumer buckles like a belt. That's the bottom line. They really should, you know, what he's mad exclusively because not enough voters got benefits from Obamacare. That's the bottom line. He would have rather give more money to older people or somebody who votes. As we just saw in the last election, all those people got benefits, didn't run out and vote for Democrats. That's what he's mad about because he doesn't care about helping people. He cares about vote collection.
And most of them do. All right. Thanks, guys. Protests across the country this week sparking a shocking message from one minister.
You are fueling hate, confusion back into communities because you lost a round. Sir, sit down.
Find out who he's talking about and why his message is something we all should be listening to. More on that at the bottom of the hour, but up here first. Just as jobs are coming back, the president pushing a new rule on job creators that some say could kick workers to the curb.